So, last day we've seen what are the different kinds of waves that can exist inside the waveguide. So, these are either TE waves or TM waves, that is transverse electric waves or transverse magnetic wave. But the combination of these two, that is transverse electromagnetic wave, that cannot exist because the waveguide is acting as a bounded medium compared to the unbounded medium, as we have been seen for the waves which have been propagating in the free space. Okay, so we need to go with each of them separately and we need to find out what are the electric fields, that is for the E waves, what are the electric fields exist, and for this case what are the magnetic field exist, we need to find out for this. So before that, as I said, this small m and n, they specifies some half wave variation along the wider dimension and the smaller dimension, narrower dimension. So we need to first look into that, how this half wave variation comes into picture for deciding some parameter. So this m and n will decide some parameter, that parameter known as modes of the waveguide. So what is this modes basically is, modes are the electromagnetic waves inside a waveguide can have different kind of pattern. So these patterns are known as modes. The EM wave inside a waveguide can have an infinite number of patterns and these patterns are called modes. Okay, so these patterns will be depending upon this small m and n values. So depending upon the combination of this m, we can have different kinds of modes. Okay, now out of this mode there is an specific mode exists, that is known as, there is a specific mode exists that is known as dominant mode. Dominant mode. So this mode, it is having highest cutoff wavelength or lowest frequency. It is having highest cutoff wavelength or lowest frequency. Okay, so we'll see what is this cutoff wavelength or the cutoff frequency, we'll find out that. But we have been taking a little bit idea about this, that dominant mode is a mode which is having the highest cutoff wavelength. So before, after that we cannot have the cutoff wavelength, we cannot have the higher wavelength after this. So it is the in boundary of the range of the wavelength, or you can say it is the lowest operating frequency or lowest frequency by which if we have been exciting our waveguide, this signal can be propagated easily with this frequency component. Okay, so let us take for an example that TE10 is the dominant mode. For TE waves in rectangular waveguide, okay, TE10. So obviously the m value is 1, n value is 0. So what does it mean? As we discussed earlier, that m is the half wave variation, number of half wave variations along the wider dimension of the waveguide. So here m value is 1, so we can say there is single half wave variation in the wider dimension, and n value is 0, so we can say there is no half wave variation along the narrower dimension or the smaller dimension. So if we are having the waveguide with cross section A cross B like this, it is A, it is B. So for TE10, we are having the half wave variation along the wider dimension. So something like this. We can also go with this arrow sign. So we are having the half wave variation along the wider dimension. Now if we go with some other modes, same for the same waveguide A cross B, let us consider TE20. TE20. So we are having the two half wave variation along the wider dimension. So this half portion will having a single half wave, and this half portion will be having another half wave. So for that case, this two half wave will be having the opposite direction. It will not have the same direction. Okay, so you will find why. I am just, for the little bit idea, I am just drawing this. So it is having two half wave variations along the wider dimension. Now if we go with TE01, let us consider, for some case if it is exist, so we will have A cross B, then obviously it should have the half wave variation denoted by n. So n represents smaller dimension of the waveguide. So we can have this kind of half wave along the smaller dimension like this. Same if we are having TE02, then it will have the half wave variation, two half wave variation along the smaller dimension. So it will have something like this. It will have something like this. Somewhat like this. Okay, so it is also having the cross section of A cross B. Fine. So it is a brief idea what I said. So when we will find out the field expression, then you will understand how this half wave variations are coming into picture. So first of all, let us go with propagation of TM waves. First of all, we have been going with TM wave, that is transverse magnetic wave. So what does it mean? It is known as E waves, means along the direction of propagation we are having Ez. Along the direction of propagation we are having Ez, but we are having Hz0. So what does it mean? All the H fields are lying on the transverse plane, since it is known as transverse magnetic wave. So all the magnetic fields are lying in the transverse plane. No magnetic field exists in the direction of wave propagation, only electric field exists along the direction of wave propagation. Okay. In rectangular waveguide. So from our concept, what we know, for TM wave Hz is 0 and Ez not is equals to 0. Okay, these are the fields which exist in the direction of wave propagation. So the wave equation for the TM wave will have Ez. We didn't no need to consider the magnetic field along the direction of wave propagation. So these are our two-dimensional wave equation, right? These are our two-dimensional wave equation. So we need to consider E for the Z component, right? So we'll go with the Z component of the electric field. It is along the direction of wave propagation. The wave equation of a TM wave, it will be del 2 Ez del x2 del y2 h square Ez is equals to 0. Okay, equation number 1. So it is a partial differential equation. We can find out the solution for this, right? So let us assume a solution for Ez is, let us assume a solution for Ez is equals to xy. Okay, so what is this x? X is a pure function of small x, and what is y? Pure function of small y. Okay. So since x and y are independent variable, we can write del 2 Ez by del x2, it is del 2 xy by del x2, it is y into del 2x del x2. Same for del 2 Ez by del y2, we can write x del 2y by del y2. So if we use these values in equation 1, from equation 1, if we put these values del 2 Ez del x2 and del 2 Ez del y2, we can write y del 2x del x2 plus x del 2y by del y2 h square Ez is equals to 0. Okay. So Ez we can write as xy. So I am just writing here again y del 2x okay. So we can now go with the separation of variables, dividing by xy. So it is 1 by x del 2x by del x2 h square is equals to 0. So this part, it is pure function of x, this part it is a pure function of y. Okay. So since x and y are independent variable, we can consider this one as, let 1 by x del 2x by del x2 is equal to minus b square, some constant value. Same 1 by y del 2y by del y2 is equals to minus a square, equation number 3. So where minus a square and minus b square are constant, and it is minus b square minus a square plus h square is equals to 0. Therefore h square is equals to a square plus b square. Okay. Now if we can able to solve this equation 2 and 3. We can also find out the value of x and y, which we can put in this equation. So this equation 2 and 3, they are ordinary second order differential equation. Therefore, the solution is x equals to, for this we can find out the solution, it is c1 cos bx plus c2 sin bx, right? Same way we can find out for this. So x is cos bx plus c2 sin bx, and y it is c3 cos ay plus c4 sin ay. So here c1 comma c2 comma c3 comma c4 are constant and which can be evaluated by applying boundary conditions. So therefore our Ez is xy. So Ez it is x is c1 cos bx plus c2 sin bx into y it is c3 cos ay plus c4 sin ay. Let us give equation number 4. Okay, so we have our Ez. Now we need to find out this constant c1, c2, c3 and c4 by applying the boundary conditions. We need to go with boundary conditions. So we are having our waveguide. This way it is Z. So this is the waveguide. This is our Z. Is 0A B. So these walls of the waveguide are conductor. We can consider as in good conductor or perfect conductor. So electric field on the wall, as we said, the tangential components on these walls are completely zero or vanish because they will get short circuited or ground for the electric field. So we can say Ez along the boundary or along the walls of the waveguide, boundary walls of the waveguide, they will be zero. Ez on the walls, on the boundary walls of the waveguide, that is top, bottom, left and right, on these four walls we can have Ez completely zero because electric field will get shorted, right, because it is in conducting surface. So we can have Ez 0 on the walls. So by taking this condition we will find out all the constant. since the entire surface of the rectangular waveguide acts as a short circuit or ground for electric field Ez is equals to 0 all along the boundary walls of the waveguide. Okay, because it is fully conducting surfaces. So on the conducting surfaces, tangential components of the electric field will vanish. So if Ez, it is along the direction of wave propagation. If they have been on the walls, then they will be 0. So we can go with the walls one by one, and by taking Ez0 we can able to find out all the constant values. So let us go with first boundary condition. That is boundary condition with respect to this bottom plane or bottom wall. Plane or wall. So obviously Ez is equals to 0 all along the bottom wall. Why? Because it is in conducting surface, electric field will be vanish on those surfaces because it will act as a short circuit. That is what we can say, Ez is 0 at this plane exists at y is equals to 0. Y is equals to 0 for all values of x ranging from 0 to a. This bottom plane, it is situated at y is equals to 0 and it is exists for x starting from 0 and a, right? So we can consider, therefore Ez0, it is y is equals to 0, right? So we can consider this C4, since y is equals to 0, so it will be 0. So we are having C1 cos bx plus C2 sin bx into C3 cos 0, it is 1. So we can write C1 cos bx plus C2 sin bx into C3. Okay, and this is true. This is true for all x starting from 0 to a, right? Now since C1 cos bx plus C2 sin bx cannot be 0, we can consider, therefore C3 is equals to 0. So what will be our Ez? Ez is C1 cos bx plus C2 sin bx into C4 sin ay. Okay, so up to this we are having applied our first boundary conditions and we have get this one. So let us take equation number 5. It is 4, 5. Now we will go with our second boundary condition. This is our left side wall. Or plane, left side plane. Okay, so here again Ez will be 0 and it is situated at x equals to 0. This left side wall, it is at x equals to 0 and it is ranging for y ranging from 0 to b. At x equals to 0 for all values of y from 0 to b. So on this equation number 5, if we substitute this boundary condition, then from equation 5 substituting boundary condition, we are having our Ez is equals to 0, 0 is equals to x equals to 0. So obviously sin bx will become 0 and c1 cos bx. So c1 cos bx it is 1. So we are having our c1 c4 sin ay, c1 c4 sin ay for all values of y ranging from 0 to b. So here, since c4 sin ay cannot be 0, therefore c1 is equals to 0. So our Ez, it is simplified as c2 sin bx c4 sin ay. It is another simplified Ez. Let us give equation number 6. Now third boundary conditions we will apply. It is with respect to top plane. So top plane, it is situated at y is equals to b and it is ranging for 0 to a for x. Third boundary condition. It is for top plane or wall. So here Ez is equals to 0 at y is equals to b for all values of x 0 to a. So substituting in equation 6, we are having 0, it is y is equals to b. So c2 sin bx sin ab, right? Since sin bx cannot be 0, c4 is there. I just missed that one. C4. We can consider sin AB is equals to 0. Therefore, A is equals to, we can find out as n pi by b. A is equals to n pi by b. So here n is equals to 0, 1, 2, like this. Okay. So we have our A. Next, let us go with fourth boundary condition, that is our right side plane. Condition, right side plane. So here again Ez will be 0 at x equals to a for all values of y ranging from 0 to b. Same, therefore 0, from this equation what we can write, c2 c4 sin ba sin ay. Same, we can go with sin ba is equals to 0, sin ba is equals to 0. Therefore here we can find out b is equals to, let us take another variable m pi by a. Here m is equals to again 0, 1, 2 like this. So therefore our final Ez from this equation, we are having our values C2, C4, Bx is m pi by a sin m pi by a x. Then we are having our a, it is sin n pi by b y. It is propagating along z direction, e to the power minus gamma z we have included, and it is also having time variation e to the power j omega t. So this is our final Ez. Also we can take C2, C4 as a single constant like this. Ez is equals to C sin m pi by a x sin n pi by b y e to the power gamma z e to the power j omega t. Now we can say yes, this is our final expression of the electric field for the TM wave. So here C is equals to C2 into C4 e to the power minus gamma z indicates propagation along z direction. Z direction. E to the power j omega t indicates sinusoidal variation with respect to t. With respect to t. Okay. Now once we are having our Ez, now we can easily find out all those field components. Ex, here we will simply put Hz is equals to 0, so we can simply write the expression of the Ez from here, whatever the value we are having. So we will go with del del x Ez. We are supposed to do the differentiation here. Same for Ey, Hx and Hy. Okay, so in this way we can easily find out all the field components. So for TM wave, Hz is equals to 0 and Ez is known because we have already derived that one, right? This is our Ez, and now putting this Ez in the field expression, we can easily find out Ex, Ey, Hx and Hy. I am just writing the final expression for this field components. Ex is minus gamma by h square c into m pi by a cos m pi by a x sin n pi by b y e to the power j omega t minus gamma z. Ey minus gamma by h square c into n pi by b. 1 minute. Sir, good morning. একটু পরে কথা বলছি, আমি ক্লাসটা করে কথা বলছি আপনার সাথে। আচ্ছা আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে, আমি দেখে নিচ্ছি তাহলে। ও ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে, আমি দেখে এসে আপনার জানাইতেছি। ওকে ওকে। sin m pi by a x cos n pi by b y e to the power j omega t minus gamma z. Then hx, it is j omega epsilon by h square c into n pi by b sin m pi by a x cos n pi by b y e to the power j omega t minus gamma z. Then our hy, it is minus of j omega epsilon h square c into m pi by a cos m pi by a x sin n pi by b y e to the power j omega t minus gamma z. So how we have been derived these field components? By taking this ez value in all those four field components starting from ex, ey, hx and hy. Here what we have considered, TM wave means transverse magnetic wave, so no magnetic field will exist along the direction of wave propagation, right? So we have taken only Ez here. So we have been taken Ez, we have taken the derivative and we have been found all the field components. Okay. Now as we say the modes, what are the m and n is possible for these field components? What are the values of m and n can be possible for these field components? Either for that m and n this field component exist or not, that is what we need to find out. So that is called TM modes in rectangular waveguide. What are the different TM modes? That is, what are the different m and n for which the field components exist? So first one, let us check TM00. That is, m is equals to 0, n is equals to 0. So if we are having m and n is equals to 0, whether any of this field component exist, let us check. So if we put m is equals to 0, ex 0. If we put n is equals to 0, everything will be 0. Again n is equals to 0, same. M is equals to 0, same. So for TM00, that is small m is equals to 0 and n is equals to 0, none of the field component exist. So we can write all the field components are vanished. Right? Now let us check with, because m and n, so 4 combinations can be possible. For the case it is having more other combinations also. So preliminary let us check for 0 1, m is equals to 0, n is equals to 1. So let us check any of the field component exist or not. If we are putting m is equals to 0, ex 0. If we put n is equals to 1. So if we put n is equals to 1, for this case, right. So if we put m is equals to 0, this is directly 0. If we put m is equals to 0 here again, so sin 0 is 0, again 0. Now again if we put m is equals to 0 here, hx sin 0, again it is 0. If we have m is equals to 0, this is also 0. Just try to understand. If we put m is equals to 0 here, 0 into pi by a, so ex is completely 0. Now if we put m is equals to 0 here, so it is sin 0. Sin 0 is 0. So everything is 0. Again here it is sin 0, everything is 0. If we put 0 here, then hy is also 0. So we can say all the field components are vanished. Let us check with TM10, that is m is equals to 1, n is equals to 0. Same thing, if we put m is equals to 1 here, so for n is equals to 0, sin 0 it is 0, n is equals to 0, everything is 0. Then again if we put n is equals to 0 here, everything is 0. Again if we put n is equals to 0, sin 0, so everything is 0. So same thing, all the field components are vanished. Let us check 1 1, m is equals to 1, n is equals to 1. Now for m is equals to 1 and n is equals to 1, all the field components will exist, right? All the 4 field components exist. That is, after that, if we are having non-zero values of m and n, then the modes will exist. So we can say starting from TM11 and all higher order modes will exist, right? That is TM11, and for all higher values of m and n will have field components that are exist to have higher order modes. Okay, so starting from TM11, and if we go with TM11, TM21, TM12, TM22, TM32, in this way all the higher order modes will exist. So 01, 00, 10, no field component will exist. Starting from non-zero values of m and n, then only we are having the TM waves. Okay, so as I said, for the explanation of the dominant mode, that it should have the highest cutoff wavelength or lowest frequency. So let us find out what is this cutoff wavelength and cutoff frequency. So if we will find, okay, let me go with this one first, then we'll explain it. Cutoff frequency of waveguide. So what we have been found, that h square, it is gamma square plus omega square mu epsilon. In the second class we have seen this thing. Now while we have been solving for Ez, what we have been found, this h square, it is again a square plus b square, right? And this a square is m pi by a whole square plus n pi by b whole square, right? So for this gamma square, if we have been finding this propagation constant gamma square, it is coming out as m pi by a whole square plus n pi by b whole square minus of omega square mu epsilon. What is this gamma? Gamma is root over m pi by a whole square plus n pi by b whole square minus omega square mu epsilon, right? And again this gamma, we know that it is equals to alpha plus j beta. What is this alpha? Alpha is attenuation constant, beta is phase shift constant. Now let us check if m pi by a whole square plus n pi by b whole square, if it is greater than omega square mu epsilon, then what will happen? if this value is greater than omega square mu epsilon, then we can say it is purely real, right? This gamma will be a real value. If this is the case, then we can say gamma is purely real. So what does it mean? This gamma should be alpha, then beta should be 0 for this case. Means beta is equals to 0 because this gamma should be real. So for this case, gamma is equals to attenuation constant. So what does it mean? Propagation does not takes place. Propagation constant is equals to attenuation constant. So all of the wave will get attenuated. So when beta is equals to 0, propagation does not takes place. Through the waveguide. Now, second case, if m pi by a whole square plus n pi by b whole square, if it is less than omega square mu epsilon, then obviously this gamma will be, gamma is purely imaginary, means alpha is equals to 0. Now when alpha is equals to 0 and beta is non-zero, then propagation takes place. Propagation takes place through the waveguide, right? So to have the propagation, obviously we need to have this m pi by a whole square plus n pi by b whole square should be less than omega square mu epsilon. Now if we need to decide a boundary for which if we cross that boundary we are having the propagation, if we are below this boundary or if we are in the left side of the boundary we didn't have any propagation. So if we need to decide a boundary, how we can decide? If we are just at this value, that is just greater than omega square mu epsilon, we didn't have the propagation. So if we can take these two values same, then for that omega we can say this is the cutoff value after which we will start our propagation. Just try to understand. If this is greater than omega square mu epsilon, we didn't have any propagation. If it is less than omega square mu epsilon, then we are having the propagation. So if you equate these two and taking out the omega, so we can say yes, this is the boundary. If we are going in the right hand side, we are having the propagation. If we are in the left hand side, we didn't have the propagation. So we can find out the cutoff value by taking these two equal, right? So for low frequencies, m pi by a whole square plus n pi by b whole square greater than omega square mu epsilon is valid, right? For low frequency, when omega is low, then we can say yes, this value is greater than this, which indicates that if this condition is satisfied, and when it is satisfied for low frequencies, when omega mu epsilon, that is omega is quite low. So if for that low frequency this condition satisfied, then we can say at low frequencies waveguide does not allow propagation is valid, which indicates that at low frequency waveguide does not allow propagation. whereas at higher frequency that is m pi by a whole square plus n pi by b whole square is less than omega square mu epsilon. So obviously when frequency will increase, this left side term will be smaller. So at higher frequency this condition is satisfied, is valid, and indicates that the waveguide allows propagation at high frequency. Allows propagation at high frequency. Just try to understand. At low frequency we didn't have any kind of propagation. At high frequency we are having the propagation. Right? So if we can think of something like that, if this is our omega, this is the some quantity, some values, either it may be voltage signal, either it may be in current signal, whatever it is. So if we are having the lower values of frequency omega, we didn't have any propagation. Gradually when this omega is increasing, we are having the propagation. So this is 0. Now since omega is increasing, it is having the propagation like this. So it is your amplitude, right? So this is the value of omega after which we are having the propagation. So this action, it is some kind of action of high pass filter. It shows the action of high pass filter. So always remember, waveguide is acting as an high pass filter. So this point, it is known as cutoff frequency. Cutoff frequency. So the frequency at which gamma just becomes 0. So after which we are having the propagation. So at this case there is no propagation. So after which we are having the propagation. So at this point gamma is just 0. After that it is having non-zero value. The frequency at which gamma just become 0, that is at omega is equals to omega c or f is equals to fc, gamma is equals to 0. Therefore we can say omega c square mu epsilon, it is equals to m pi by a whole square plus n pi by b whole square. Therefore fc is 1 by twice pi root over mu epsilon into m pi by a whole square plus n pi by b whole square to the power half. So this is the expression of the cutoff frequency inside the waveguide. So obviously this cutoff frequency not only depending upon the medium which is inside the waveguide, it is also depending upon the physical properties of the waveguide, that is A and B. A and B are the dimensions of the waveguide. It is the broader dimension, it is the narrower dimension. So this cutoff frequency is not only depending upon the medium properties inside the waveguide but also depending upon the properties, physical properties of the waveguide. Okay. Now once we are having the cutoff frequency, we can easily find out the cutoff wavelength. So what this cutoff frequency says that after this frequency we are having the propagation. So this is the lowest frequency value after which we are having the propagation, right? So this cutoff wavelength lambda c can be found out as c by fc, right? So it is twice pi into C into root over mu epsilon into m pi by a whole square plus n pi by b whole square whole to the power minus half. So obviously, if inside the waveguide, if it is free space, if the medium inside the waveguide is free space, then we can consider C is equals to 1 by mu naught epsilon naught, root over mu naught epsilon naught, right? So this one will get cancelled. So our lambda C will be twice by root over m pi by a whole square plus n pi by b whole square. This is the expression of the cutoff wavelength. So obviously, as we said, for f greater than fc or lambda less than lambda c, propagation is allowed. Is allowed to the waveguide. For f less than fc or lambda greater than lambda c, propagation is not allowed. Okay, so it told you that after a certain frequency only the waveguide will allow the propagation inside it. Okay, any doubt up to this? Anyone? Any doubt? Okay, I am concluding.